Hello and welcome to my knitting vlog. My name is Annika and I'm a knitwear designer and knitter that lives in Finland. I forgot for a while what I wanted to say. I'll never mind that. Yeah, this is maybe the second episode that I'm filming this year, and at the moment I am knitting a swatch. So I'm not sure if you know, but swatches lie. At least my swatches do. So I suppose the question is, why am I knitting one? Since every time I knit a gauge swatch, the actual sweater or slipover or whatnot, except for socks, end up quite with a different gauge than the swatch. Well, I am knitting a swatch to see if the color that I chose for a design works, if the stitch pattern works, if the yarn works. Sometimes certain yarns don't want to turn into the design that I have in my head. They want to become something different. So it's actually a nice and rather simple way to test your ideas. And yeah, I mentioned Elizabeth Zimmermann at some point. She says in her book, I think it's called Knitting Without Tears, that you should carry your swatch around in your bag and just let it be there for a while and see if it holds up and if it's still, after a few weeks, the thing that you were looking for. And if not, then try something else. So this hopefully will be a dress eventually. Don't know when though. Maybe next winter, which is soon. Now we're in October. And this is from, just a second, I need to grab my balls. This is from Tin Pergant and Tin Silk Mohair from Sunday. And yes, these were gifted, just to be honest about it, for the design. And yeah, it's the colorway 1053 in both. I'm not sure how I feel yet about Tin Pergant because I haven't really used it for anything. So I'm trying to give it a chance. I knit a swatch in beige and with Tin Silk Mohair, with a white Tin Silk Mohair that I wasn't such a huge fan of. But I think for the purpose that I intend to use the dress for, which is ice swimming, this will be just the perfect yarn. Let's hope the best. Yeah, I did mention in my previous vlog some things about the designing process and the industry, and maybe I should talk more about it, but I kind of find it somewhat depressing, to be honest. I mean, I do like the fact that you get to do whatever you like and whatever you want to design, you can try and test. Still, at the same time, you should be mindful and trying to sort of guess what people would like to buy. It's not just about fulfilling your creative ideas and knitting whatever you want. It's kind of a balance, and it's, I guess I'm struggling with the part that, is it an art or is it a craft? Can it be an art? And if it's an art, then maybe what I'm knitting is not really artsy. I mean, maybe they're just too simple. Maybe there should be more outlandish, I don't know, you name it. Maybe in a pink color instead of gray. All those things. I haven't really figured out how to answer my own questions. If you have any suggestions how to think about designing, if it's an art or if it's a craft, I guess what I'm trying to say that it can be art, but in that case you don't really think about what other people might want to knit. You do it for the art's sake and not for the part that, oh, I want to sell 1 million patterns of this raglan sweater. So yeah, I don't know really. I guess, like I said, maybe, or did I say it? Maybe it can be both. And yeah, I also mentioned in the previous episode that I want to knit things for my own wardrobe that would stand the test of time. And yeah, I'm thinking that a gray dress might be just one of those. And yeah, I'm knitting it on 3.5 millimeter needles, and probably no one else will want to knit this. I mean, I can imagine that people do like knitting stockinette as a sweater, but maybe not as a dress, a knee-length dress. Well, we'll see. If you're interested in it, then drop me a line. I'll let you know when the test knitting starts. So yeah, back to designing and test knitting. I said that you should not become a knitwear designer. Why? I'm not sure I mentioned all the reasons why. Well, your return of investment is pretty low in the first 4 to 5 years, unless you somehow manage to go viral by knitting shapeless things, for example. That's one version. I've seen many designers do that, which is okay. I mean, well, is it okay? No, it's not okay. I don't really think that it's okay. But maybe that's just because my idea of designing and what you should make is different. So yeah, slowly but surely you might get more customers, you might get more submissions past. That's not the correct word for it. You know, magazines and publishers have these submission calls, and I rarely have been successful in those. Finally, I have a pattern coming out next year, and I do have a few patterns in the Finnish magazines, which I'm very grateful for, but I'm not sure that I found any customers through that. But that said, I did learn a lot about those processes. One is currently underway. There will be a colorwork cardigan coming out in December in that Finnish magazine called Taito. And yeah, that's my first cardigan design. And for some reason, I just couldn't do anything simple. But maybe I'll get back to that once I actually have the pattern back and I'll be able to translate it to English. So yeah, about my design philosophy, sometimes I want to do things for the sake of doing them, of trying to see if I can actually pull it off, of trying to learn something new, of trying to do things differently for the sake of doing things differently. Even they might not look like it. Maybe they're just, simple slipover, like the one I'm wearing. Yeah, the one I'm wearing is one of those things. It's a simple cabled slipover. Nothing to write home about again. The thing is, sometimes you find a cable pattern in one of those stitch dictionaries and you fell in love with those, and then you want to use it for everything. At least that's what happens with me many times. So no, I didn't come up with anything that original. And the thing is, you don't have to. You can just implement it the way you wanted it. So, and if you love it, then just hope for the best, and many other people will do as well. I think it was last fall that I designed a shawl with a similar pattern. It's somewhere, it's not that cold yet, so I haven't brought it out yet. I used Ulysses and Biche and Bouche Le Petit Silk Mohair. Pardon my French, it's non-existent. I really love that yarn combo. And I had tons of Ulysses in my stash. And I also had Isager silk mohair, which is, well, one of my most favorite silk mohairs. But this one doesn't have that. This one actually has the Berenice from the Rerum Natura. I think they launched it, was it already last year or the one before, their own silk mohair combination. It has, if I'm not mistaken, 20% of wool in it. And that also feels like butter, not just the Isager silk mohair. I really liked it. I ordered some to test it for the second slipover version, which I'm wearing at the moment. This is a bit different to the original one. This doesn't have a split hem and it's shorter. The original one is right next to me. Just a second. I made it in, oh my god, I think it's a trendy color actually. This is made in Isager silk mohair and you'll see. I don't remember the color names, but like I said in my previous episode, you can Google anything these days. It's the dark brown from both. I think it's cocoa or cacao for the Ulysses and some number for the Isager silk mohair. Yeah, so this does not have a European shoulder, but it does have a drop shoulder sort of thing. It has short rows at the back. It has a neat armpit ribbing thing that probably won't show on this video. And it has a split hem. So it's not actually longer at the back, but I just like the idea of splitting the hem. And twisted ribbing. I am working on the pattern at the moment. And like with everything else, all good things take time. It would need tech editing, it would need test knitting, it would need another round of tech editing, and it would actually need to be graded first. And probably I would need to write the pattern more thoroughly. I'm not that of a thorough person, I noticed lately, at least what comes to pattern writing. I think all the time that I am more thorough than I actually am. And then when it comes back from tech editing, I'm always surprised that it's, well, half of it is full with, suggestion tool. It's red. I try not to take it too personally. And yeah, it's a learning experience. So, I actually don't remember which one I knit first. Did I make the slipover after the shawl or did I make the sweater? Because, ta-da! Of course, I wanted to knit a sweater. I mean, who doesn't want to knit a white cabled sweater in Ulysses and Isager silk mohair? I do know that this is not necessarily the most affordable yarn choice. I think in Finland, Ulysses is now 10 euros per ball. And the same goes even, probably it's even more for the Isager silk mohair. So that's a 120 euro sweater. Plus whatever the time you needed to knit it. And I do understand that people don't want to spend so much money and time on hand knit things, and they want to get some yarn that's more affordable, and that's all right. But like I said, some of it I already had in my stash for, I don't know, years maybe. And yeah, I wanted to use them for something that I didn't have, which is a more chunky weight. Well, chunky, it's not really chunky weight. I think it's worsted or Aran sweater. Yeah. I also think that maybe for the future, I should think more clearly about what I want to say, because now I'm just freestyling. I don't have any show notes or whatnot, and probably there won't be much below the title either. But maybe you still get to, I don't know, use some of the ideas that I'm telling you about knitwear design. So there is also, I mentioned already, there is so much competition. It's just insane. I'm not sure if the COVID years had an input on that, but it seems like everybody is a knitwear designer these days. And yeah, that also, how to put it? Since I'm also one of those people who just all of a sudden came up with the idea, oh, it would be so fun to design knitwear and maybe, make a few bucks. I really don't know how I feel about it, that everybody is a knitwear designer these days. Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, of course you can do that. But if you are looking for instant gratification, if you're looking for instant success, like I said, it might be quite a rocky road. And I do realize that it might be the same thing with everything else as well that you want to do. And from my part, I can also say that I don't think that I will do this for the end of my days. I mean, I quite enjoy it because there's so much challenge in it. Not just, the grading, but like I mentioned at some point about creating designs that fit different body types, hopefully, and just, realizing the ideas from my head. But yeah, I thought that I would be further along on my journey. Everything takes such a long time, from pattern writing to knitting things to tech editing rounds. If you actually use a tech editor, I have to say I can't afford to use it all the time, or not as often as I want to. Maybe in the future I can change that, because tech editing is anything, well, it's not that expensive if you think about it, but it's still anything from 30 euros to more. Probably it's at least 35 euros plus VAT tax. And it's 1 to 2 more hours per pattern, depending on what it is. They need to check the grading, the language, sometimes multiple languages. So of course it takes time. And like I said, it's not that expensive, but if you're making only 50 euros from one pattern, then is it expensive or not? And you could think of it that, yeah, but it's well worth investing in it, because then people would get a tech edited pattern and then they will come back to buy your next pattern. Yes and no, you can't really know that. Maybe your next design is not what they're looking for, so they're never gonna come back anyway. Yeah. Then there's the what's it called? Blackout. Well, I'll get back to it in a minute. But yeah, I do appreciate tech editors' work, and like I said, I wish I could afford to use them more. Yeah, maybe I should also mention, probably nobody talks about this, but of how much money they are actually making with their pattern sales. Yeah. And maybe it's vulgar to talk about it, but it depends on the pattern. It's so funny that you never know what's gonna be a success and what's not gonna be a success. And probably I'm repeating myself when I say that still you put the same amount of effort into each pattern, to some even more than to others. And yeah, some for no reason seem to sell a lot and others don't. And no matter how many times you push the refresh button, it's not helping. So yeah, I've been also thinking about the fact that knitwear designing is not about the knitwear. It's about the feeling that you're trying to sell on your Instagram. And I'm not sure I'm trying to sell anything except that knitwear. I mean, I'm not trying to sell my high-end lifestyle, which I don't have. I'm not trying to sell my low-key lifestyle, which I don't have either. I just don't know what I'm actually trying to sell. And it's about evoking feelings. Yeah. So what do you think? Do you buy the actual pattern for the sake of the pattern? Or do you try to buy into the lifestyle of a certain designer? Have you ever thought about it? I think it can be, of course, both or neither. And maybe you just don't buy patterns at all at this moment. I know that times are, at least in Finland, tough, to say frankly, and people don't have money. So that's just one thing. You just don't want to buy a pattern even if it's €5. You rather put it, I don't know, into buying bread, and that's fine. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on why do you buy knitting patterns? Do you buy from the same designers all the time? Do you, I mean, regardless what they put out, do you have some sort of loyalty towards them? If so, why? I mean, I would like to really know. And that said, it's funny that even though I haven't been doing this for that long and I don't have 300 patterns on Ravelry, I still have a few clients that are returning, which I'm very grateful for. But I would need more to actually have a sustainable business. And yeah, talking about Ravelry. Ravelry is, in my opinion, the place where patterns go to die. And I am seriously thinking of also publishing my pattern elsewhere, or patterns. But I haven't figured out where. And why I'm saying that Ravelry is a place where they go to die is there's almost 600,000 patterns on Ravelry. And I think finding my pattern, or anybody else's for that matter, if you're not one of those top 10 designers, is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Might be impossible. So that said, every like, comment, whatnot counts because it pushes my pattern. Well, it's not the algorithm, it's something else, I think, with Ravelry. But it works the same way as in Instagram. The more comments, the more likes, the more visible it gets to everybody else. So there is that. But yeah, now I've confused myself and I've been knitting only garter stitch for my swatch, which I'm not planning to use in my dress. So maybe I should get back to focusing on what I'm actually trying to create and not talk so much about the perils of knitwear design. It sounds funny. Yeah, again, I feel like I haven't said anything really worth saying. Maybe that's also a recurring theme in my knitting vlogs. Anyhow, until next time, bye.